The Bug Bucks Podcast!
We're talking about technology, AI. If you haven't started to seriously implement it in your pest control company, it's time to do that. We're going to be talking about how you do that even without highly specialized skill and knowledge of AI. When do you use a human? When do you use AI? When do you use SameDay? What's that relationship for a pest control company?
Our goal at SameDay is to try to build AI that can outperform people. It shouldn't only be more affordable on like per working hour basis, but that it also needs to like outperform. How do you measure that? Like, does it book more appointments, close more subscriptions or more deals? That's where we put most of our time and attention, is trying to create these agents that can answer a phone call, which we've done since 2022, and then also be able to negotiate agreement terms, initial services, and why is there a 30-day follow-up? Like all of those little nuances, like teaching AI how to not only state it, but know how to do it in a way that will be like a great salesperson.
What does an onboarding look like for them to have a system that is as flawless as it can be?
There's no reason you shouldn't be taking your first call in like half an hour.
Holy cow. You guys have this step-by-step template for how to get Claude or Chat to do an analysis. You can find out if your digital marketing agency is doing a good job for you or not, and even identify some holes in what's going on. I don't know why, but you agreed to give this template away for free to the listener. Did I understand that right? Hey, if you're anything like me, you've learned that owning a pest control company has a lot of lonely, stressful days and nights. That's actually why BugBucks was created. Recently, Jordan and I took BugBucks Plus through a major revamp. We stepped back and refocused everything around what actually moves the needle: connection, accountability, and real-world execution for your pest control company. This isn't just a content library, it's a connected community of pest control owners who are actively building and growing together, actually helping each other. A lot like we saw at BugBucksCon. Inside BugBucks Plus, you get a private community of pest control owners, weekly live coaching, and monthly accountability check-ins, monthly webinars focused on real growth strategies, BugBucks Plus courses, templates, calculators, and other tools you can actually use in your business, plus exclusive networking, meetups, and events with other owners. This is for the owner who's tired of trying to figure it out all alone. If you've been stuck, overwhelmed, or you're just ready for a better way to grow, this is it. Click the link in the show notes, join BugBucks Plus, and let's build this thing together. Thankful that you're with me today. A great episode. We're talking about technology, and I know it's a buzzword, but AI, it's time, right? If you haven't started to seriously implement it in your pest control company, it's time to do that. And so make sure that you listen all the way to the end, because we're going to be talking about how you do that even without highly specialized skill and knowledge of AI, much like me. So before we get to that, BugBucks Plus has a new group. It's on School, SKOOL. Make sure to check that out. We're changing the way that we are doing things with the BugBucks Plus group. It's going to be more about connection. We still have all the courses in there. We still have these conversations and these topics and the questions and all that stuff. It's more on a more intimate level. We have weekly Q&A questions with me. We have monthly accountability calls. We have monthly webinars that are exclusive to BugBucks Plus members. So make sure to check that out. So without further ado, Aaron Cooper, great friend of mine, several years now. He's the founder and CEO of SameDay. It's a conversational AI platform which is built to help home service companies instantly respond to leads, book more jobs, and never miss an opportunity. SameDay uses AI to automate follow-up, qualify prospects, and turn inbound interest into real revenue 24/7. With a background in growth marketing and leadership at companies like Ardent, Aaron brings deep expertise in scaling service businesses through smarter systems, faster response times, and better customer experiences. So with that, Aaron, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Alan. I was, as you were saying that, I was thinking about when we first met. And what was that app that was like super popular during COVID where you could like jump on these like groups and do like these live?
Yeah, the ones where it was all audio.
Yeah. Everyone thought it was going to be like the next big thing, and then it's gone. But we did this like bug millionaire, bug bucks million. What was it called?
Dude, I actually don't. I have no recollection of what you're talking about. I know the app,
Really?
but
You used to. Oh man, that's how I first knew about you. Is you did during COVID. It was like 2020, 2021. You held these
Clubhouse.
like weekly, yeah, clubhouse groups talking about, it was like pest control millionaire, I think it was called, or something
That's
along those lines.
crazy. So is Clubhouse still around or is it gone?
No idea. I'm sure it's dead. At least, I mean, if you haven't heard about it,
Yeah,
then
it's that's funny. So that's funny because the first time I remember like talking to you over the phone or something, but the first time like my first like memory is meeting you at Pest World in Las Vegas. So that would have been 2021 or something, 2020.
I think so.
So,
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Well, back then, I think, or right around that time, you worked for Ardent. You have this background, I already mentioned it, but this background in marketing, and you took it and parlayed it into AI. And I think that's awesome. What's the purpose, man? What's SameDay AI is like the high level goal there. The proverbial why.
Yeah.
What is it?
No, I mean, a little bit on the backstory. So I was the CMO for Ardent, which eventually became Alta Pest Control. After that, was overall the growth marketing for Aptive Environmental as well. So got, a bit more exposure on like 100+ locations and what that looks like, and did a lot of consulting for other businesses, and just realized like, man, and this is 2020, 2021. It's like, man, like everyone is missing a ton of leads that they're paying a lot of money for. Back then it was like $100 a call on the Google local services. Now companies might pay 200 or 300, but it was like 15%, 20% of the leads that we were paying for just weren't even being responded to or answered in time. And so I set out to try to solve that. At first it was, I want to build a CRM that allows us to link everything in one place and just get better insights. And was fortunate enough to rub shoulders with a student at BYU who he was a CS major and was like, hey, have you heard of using AI to like respond to Facebook messages? And was like, oh, I don't know. So I went down this rabbit hole of AI, and then, yeah, we built SameDay AI. I think our first paying customer was in like 2022, like July of 2022, if I remember correctly. I think Aptive was actually like one of our first 5 customers. Yeah. And yeah, and it's been great ever since. I mean, there's a lot of tech background. I ended up in San Francisco for a while, but
yeah, I think it's interesting because pest control is one of those industries where, there's always like this opportunity to sell somebody, right? You can, if you don't immediately get the sell, there's an opportunity. It just really, really decreases the probability. This is hey, I just saw ants in my kitchen. My wife's mad, or I'm mad, or whatever. Or I saw a roach or a mouse or whatever. I want the problem solved like yesterday. And at Proof, that's, there's a huge difference. And we still have follow-up and all that stuff, but there's a huge difference. So what you're doing by automating that follow-up, because I can tell you that human beings, they're not great at the automatic, super quick, right? At least as good as technology is, obviously. So that being said,
yeah,
what are the differences? What are the jobs that, and we don't need to list all of them, but just for conversational purposes, when do you use a human? When do you use AI? When do you use same day? Like what's that relationship for a pest control company? What does that perfect picture look like?
yeah. Our goal at SameDay is to try to build AI that can outperform people. We think that it shouldn't only be more affordable on like maybe a equivalent per working hour basis, but that it also needs to like outperform. How do you measure that? Like, does it book more appointments? Does it close in pest control? Does it close more subscriptions or more deals? And so for us, that's where we put most of our time and attention, is trying to create these agents that can answer a phone call, which we've done since 2022, so what, 4 years now. But and then also be able to negotiate, go through agreement terms, initial services, and why they should, why is there a 30-day follow-up? Like all of those little nuances, like teaching AI how to not only state it, but know how to do it in a way that will, be like a great salesperson.
It's interesting that I think the younger generation, right? Like I know my kids and maybe even some people that are older than them, they're going to come to terms with like, hey, I'm going to be talking to AI. I think it's like the equivalent of us using menus, like to call menus when we would call in. Like my mom gets one of those and she's like, I need to speak to a person, right? Like, but then our generation, we just got, hey, you call somebody, you're going to have to make a selection. If you make the wrong selection, it's going to just end up costing you more time. Like, and so I feel like there's different groups with AI. There's some groups, my guess is, and you correct me if I'm wrong, that don't even know that they're talking to AI. Is that true with SameDay?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. In the early days, the latency and stuff was like 6-7 seconds before the AI would respond, which back then we thought was awesome. But because of that, older people would catch on pretty quickly. Now that the agency and the interruption component is like pretty natural, older people can't tell the difference, and younger people are like almost like training themselves how to single out an AI. Like, when you see a video on Instagram and you're like, that's for sure AI. Like younger people are catching that on phones and maybe a little less adept to using it.
What's the goal for SameDay? Is it to still have a mix? Some people don't know, some people do know, or are you guys like, hey, we're going to get to the point where people cannot tell the difference?
Well, I think a better way to phrase that is like, it's not a matter of it like being able to tell the difference. It's about like really solving the problem that the customer is calling for, whether that's through AI or whether it's through a person. Now, like service businesses, like I was a pest control technician for a while, and I obviously did marketing eventually after that. Like I understand the sentiment around, what kind of service you're providing. And it's very common for you to just innately say, well, my customers want to speak to a person. I'm a service business, which is not necessarily wrong. But at the same time, what are they actually calling for? They're calling to get their problem resolved. And so we can spend all of our time trying to replicate what exactly it would sound like if the business owner answered the phone. Or we can spend more time saying, hey, like, how can we optimize for what the person's calling about? Like if they say they have, black ants crawling through their kitchen window, and the last company hasn't been able to do it for a couple of weeks. Like being able to understand all of the nuance that comes with that, and be able to predict what questions might be able to answer, you might need to ask, or if we already have answers to it, and just like getting it scheduled, right? Saying, hey, this is worth a lot of money, or this is worth our time. Let me go ahead and manipulate the schedule or the route in order to get to this person really quickly. Like those are the types of things that we think make it much better, rather than just like having a voice that is indistinguishable between like the business owner or an AI.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. It's interesting because you're saying, hey, we're focusing on solving the problem, not sounding completely human. And I feel like just humans in general, we have this learning curve, dude. And maybe I'm just speaking from my perspective, but I feel like if I can choose, I'd rather speak to a human, but that's with the assumption that the human can do as good of a job or better than, and it faster than AI. And so for the pest controllers out there cruising around in his or her truck, and they're like, man, there's this hurdle. I've thought about calling SameDay, but I'm nervous because like this is a family-owned company. My name's on the door or whatever. Like I inherited from my grandpa. Help us, Aaron. Help us overcome, because we're blue collar, because we literally go to people's homes. We go inside their homes. Help us. How do we maintain that connection even while we're improving our systems? And by the way, for the pest controller, don't think this is isolated to AI. Like in all the systems that we're trying to improve, a lot of them involve not removing the human component necessarily, but limiting it or making it faster or some type of modification of it. So a lot of times it gets blamed on AI. Hey, they're trying to make my business not human. To be honest, like a lot of the technology is doing that, things that are making us better. So what's the reconciliation there?
Yeah, I like to compare it to going to the DMV. Okay. If you had an option and that was to go to the DMV and renew your registration on your car, and while doing that, you just met like the most fun person to talk to ever, right? But you still had to go to the DMV, wait in line, do the paperwork, register your car. Or the DMV provided an option for you to where your car just was automatically registered and they pulled the money out of your bank account, right? And it wasn't some obscure amount. You didn't pay any extra for it. It was just there. It was happened automatically. Which one would you choose?
Yeah, for me, that's very clear. It's all about speed.
Yeah. And not just speed. It's just like you're getting to the heart of the problem. It's like, hey, the government requires my car be registered. I need to get this registered and taken care of. Right? Like, let's call a spade a spade. Like pest control businesses, it's not like buying a Ferrari. Like you're buying a service to take care of a problem. And, you want a great service because innately for people that sort of translates to the problem's going to be solved. Right? If I get a technician who comes out and he's very friendly and thoughtful and walks me through everything, I think we're programmed to think, well, they're going to get me taken care of. Well, do that with the technicians, but when it comes to scheduling and making sure people are taken care of, like let's automate that.
We're going to take a quick moment to highlight one of the premier sponsors of the BugBucks Plus platform. Navigating the digital landscape of pest control marketing can be overwhelming, but with over 16 years of industry experience, Lizard Marketing knows exactly how to help you dominate your market and outshine the competition. Their team understands the unique challenges of the pest control industry and crafts high-impact SEO strategies, stunning website designs, and laser-focused Google Ads campaigns that don't just bring in leads, they convert them into loyal customers. Lizard Marketing believes that trust, transparency, and partnership are the foundation of success. They don't just offer marketing services. They build relationships with their clients, working side by side to help them achieve their business goals and grow with confidence. If you're a BugBucks member, mentioning your membership unlocks exclusive savings on their services. And if you're expanding your skills through our online educational platform, you'll gain access to even greater deals to strengthen your digital presence. DM marketing to the BugBucks Podcast Facebook page for more information, or visit lizardmarketing.co today. Mention your affiliations and claim your discounts. With Lizard Marketing's proven expertise and client-first approach, you'll adapt, evolve, and succeed. Now back to the BugBucks Podcast.
Yeah, I like your analogy, because while if I have to go to the DMV and while making like somebody being super friendly, although extremely, extremely rare at the DMV, right? Just because of the nature of the business. While it makes the experience a little better, I'm not going to the DMV to meet friends. Like, and I'm not a big small talk person. Hey, how's your day? Mine's good. How's yours? Good, good. Weather, good. Okay, transaction. You give me 25 seconds and I'm moving on. And here's the interesting thing that I just thought about. And I've said interesting 100 times. I don't know why that's, it keeps coming up. But this comes down, I think, a lot to the pest controller's demographic. What's the type of customer that you want to have? And there's not a right or wrong answer. This is actually like based off of your model, the business that you're trying to build. Do you want the customer that you're sending Christmas cards to, their cousin? Do you the technician spends 15 minutes talking to them? And we all have some of those. But for Proof, for example, that's going to be a minority. That's going to be less than 5% of all of our customer base. The rest is going to be, hey, how you doing? Oh, and they love recognizing their tech. That's separate. But our clientele They want a really good service done, and they want to be involved as little as possible. In other words, they're not going to the DMV to make friends. Do you see that?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And and to be honest, or to be clear, like we do focus a lot of time on the voice, right? And especially for like certain like larger enterprise customers, like we have a whole like mobile recording studio, and we'll go to their office and clone the voice of their best CSR, right? Or some they want, like we've had customers who are like, hey, my great grandfather started this business, and we still use his voice on the ads, like the TV ads. It's like, great, let's have your great grandfather answer the phone too. Why not? So like we do that. That being said, right, of the millions of calls that we've answered now, the companies that get really in the weeds trying to control what it says and what it can do and being very particular are the ones that have the outsized number of people asking to speak to a person versus the ones who allow the AI to do its thing and to do as much as possible, right?
Yeah, and one of the concerns that I think a lot of people have, especially the folks that haven't employed the automated follow-up, the phone answering, those types of AI systems, is how long does it take me to get it dialed in? Because I'm nervous about a lot of the issues that happen, and this happens with any system change. It's just the way it is. But how long before we're not dropping calls, where the automations are actually going to the right place, the messages are the right thing? How long does that usually take a new pest control company once they sign up with SameDay?
It comes down to how much are you willing to like follow our recommended path versus, how much do you want to get into the weeds
And customize it.
and customize it. Yeah. And to customize it is not always a good thing. You know what I mean? Like you can go send your car to Pimp My Ride and it'll come out of Pimp My Ride and people are like, man, that thing looks very cheesy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So customizing it doesn't always mean it's great. Like I said, we're answering millions of calls for companies that, are public. We have a handful of customers that are publicly traded service businesses, right? So like we typically will come in and say, hey, like you use field routes. Okay, this is what we recommend. Here's an agent. Here's a playbook, as we call it. But people who tend to get hung up over, well, I want this to be handed off to this person and this to be handed off to this person and the AI to do just this. Those are the ones that end up, dragging it out.
So for ballpark it, and I know expectations shouldn't be set in stone, but if somebody comes in and they're like, yeah, you tell me what to do, I'm going to do it. What does an onboarding look like for them to have a system that is as flawless as it could be?
There's no reason you shouldn't be taking your first call in like half an hour.
Holy cow.
Right? If you're on field routes, you might have to email them if you don't have your APIs yet. Right? Like there's stuff like that, but typically an onboarding call is 30 minutes. If you come in and you just let us do our thing, you have field routes, you have a system we integrate with, then you should be able to go live in 30 minutes.
Nice. That, for a lot of people, that should ease some concerns, right? And my guess is there's still going to be a thing or two that will go wrong that you'll have to catch and adjust. Or do you think like, hey, once we get this set up, if there's not a ton of customizations, this is going to just roll, pretty much seamlessly?
Not all the time, but oftentimes we almost like have to work as like a fractional consultancy for people's CRMs, like field routes and stuff. People over time are going to add a ton of duplicate jobs, or the AI kind of has to look into your system blind. And so if you have 5 of the same thing, and maybe there is a subtle nuance, maybe there's something that only lives in the notes, right? That they don't reveal through the APIs, then oftentimes my team's having to go through and help you clean it up. And I think that's something that we have gotten better at as well, is being able to stay with like real certainty, like, hey, don't do it this way. Like you don't set up your field routes like that.
What's interesting is that if you're building any system, this would be a really good process. Like make it replicable, make the steps fewer, make it more user friendly. make it more intuitive, make it so that we could grab somebody that's a technician, put them in a CSR seat, and they can handle themselves. And it seems like that's a similar process. Like, hey, use the notes, but if it's something that needs to happen over and over again, like there's got to be a better system. How do we go through this process of not having to read 30 minutes of notes before we know exactly what the tech needs to do or when they like to be scheduled or whatever? So, I mean, that's a process of just cleaning things up generally. So,
Yeah, and your AI can read the notes and the tags and whatever else. Like, do they have a dog or those kind of things? But once again, it really just comes down to like regular maintenance, clean, data hygiene, which is a problem with basically any company, right?
Yeah.
Not just a home service business, like an AI company, right? We look at our hub, we use HubSpot, and we're like, oh man, we've got a few 100,000 of these companies in here. Like, how many of these do we really need? Stuff like that.
So you guys have developed kind of this this protocol for getting AI just really dialed in. We were kind of talking prior to hitting the record button about how you guys have this step-by-step template for how to get Claude or Chat to do an analysis of marketing in general. And it sounds like specifically with AdWord campaigns. One of the struggles, as you know, that a lot of pest controllers have, especially those that use marketing agencies, is, and it's something that I really struggled with prior to founding Lizard, but it's, hey, how do I hold my digital marketing agency accountable? I don't understand what's going on. The only data that I have is the data that they give me. It's the fox guarding the hen house a little bit, but you guys have developed this hack, this template of this is how you can find out if your digital marketing agency is doing a good job for you or not, and even identify some holes in what's going on. And I don't know why, but you agreed to give this template away for free to the listener. Did I understand that right?
Yeah. It's been really impactful for us. Like, our team, like human wise, is not massive, right? You think software company, especially, with how many customers we have, like you would assume our team is huge, right? Got like 20 employees.
That's awesome.
But we've benefited, we've been around 5 years, but we've benefited a lot just, I think, from being early to the game to make some early relationships with some of these companies that are now pretty popular on automating stuff with AI. So I have a group picture of our first, we went and hung out in San Francisco for a few weeks with our first investor. And this was 2022. I say they locked us in a basement, like it literally was a basement with 10 other companies, just young guys trying to build AI. And in there was the founders of Perplexity, the founders of Cursor, and then also that same year, the founders of Anthropic or Claude also taught us how to do a lot of our prompt writing and stuff. Before they were famous, you could kind of just go knock. And so we've benefited from being able to implement a lot of these systems and really flesh them out over a matter of years now. And so what we're saying is, hey, we would gladly share some of those insights on how a pest control business can go log into a Claude or go log into a Perplexity AI or a ChatGPT and plug it into maybe field routes or plug it into maybe Facebook ads or Google ads and have it actually be able to audit stuff, like a real expert, actually see the clicks and see how much you're spending down to the dollar and tell you hey, this is BS.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is this something that if we got it into the pest controller's hands, that they would be able to set up on their own?
Yeah, it's pretty easy, honestly. It's a few clicks.
Awesome. So what we're going to do is in the show notes, there's going to be a link to sign up for that free guide. So SameDay is giving that away. So make sure that you don't miss that. We're also going to post about this in the coming weeks in the Facebook group. So probably a week or so after this episode drops, there's going to be another mention of SameDay AI and this giveaway. And how you get it in your hands is completely free. It's going to be a game changer. If you're doing digital marketing, whether you use an agency or not, if you're doing digital marketing, this is going to let you know how you're doing. So make sure to look out for that in the show notes and again in the Bug Bucks Facebook group. As we're wrapping up here, Aaron, one thing that I kind of just personally wanted to ask you is like, hey, what's the future of AI? Where are we headed? And what does SameDay AI have to do with that? What separates them?
Yeah, I mean, in the AI world, we're seeing, I mentioned, I guess, before the call started, MCP servers, right? Which is like a special sort of integration that a software might build so that AI agents can interact with your software. So imagine Field Routes creates a special plug that allows any AI agent to start using it. Mm-hmm. So what we're seeing now is that these sort of plugs or MCPs are going to be plugged into everything in the world, not just Field Routes, but also your website. It's going to be plugged into your phone, like the way that people communicate with you, so that literally everything is AI to AI, which is a little weird because, you might not call your mom anymore on Sundays to see how she's doing. Like your mom might just have the AI check in on you. But that's the way that the tech world is going. We'll see how much people push back on that, or if people really adopt it. But you should expect like SEO. I mean, the impact on this is how you do SEO, how people even find your business is drastically changing.
For sure, that's awesome. So what is SameDay's role? And to be honest with you, and this is kind of a layperson's perspective, but I feel like we've got AI coming out of the woodworks. Everybody is like offering some sort of new AI tool. What separates SameDay? Why are you guys the trusted source for the pest controllers?
Everything that I just mentioned, right? We help you stay ahead of the curve on that. So on its surface, people would say SameDay answers phone calls, which is definitely a large part of what we do. But we have a lot of different resources in our app that you can use, such as like self-checkout, like having an experience in your website where someone can not just like go submit a form, but they can actually just go through an AI-driven experience where buttons appear on your site based on qualifying questions, and then they can go through all the way scheduling an appointment in Field Routes, right? And the scheduling widget will dispatch the technician and make sure that the agreement gets triggered to them, right? So just everything you need to really make sure you're staying ahead of the game is what we do.
It seems to me that if people are looking for any type of automation, pretty much any type of AI service outside of, hey, I'm going to ask chat a question that I would, 10 years ago would have asked Google. Outside of that, they should start with SameDay. Give SameDay a call. Because even when we were talking prior to hitting record, you told me all this stuff. I'm like, dude, I didn't know SameDay did all that, which is way too much for a single episode. But you guys are just a great, hey, look, I'm going to call Aaron at SameDay and just talk about what's going on in my pest control company, what are my problems, and what, if anything, SameDay can do to help me solve some of those.
100%. Which, by the way, I want to make a quick plug too. If you didn't go to the Bug Bucks Con this year, it felt like 5x of what it was the year before, which I didn't tell you before we started the call. Like, it was pretty awesome. And so, that just happened. We just got out of that, and I was pretty impressed with how that went. That was
I
really
appreciate
cool.
that. And I agree. We've announced Bug Bucks Con for next year. I forgot to do a plug when I did the intro, but that's going to be February 24th through the 26th. We're going to do 2.5 days in San Diego. And tickets aren't on sale yet, but they're coming, and we're going to be having all sorts of awesome partners and tons of integration with the partners. We did a lot of integration this year. SameDay was there. We did the table networking events. And we want, and I think this is because of my experience at Proof, we want our partners to be partners. So I used to use the word vendor. And then post-COVID, I realized, with the people that I had really good relationships with, they saved me. I knew about truck delays because of certain pieces that couldn't be manufactured. I knew about those before they happened. So somebody told me, and they're like, hey, we were ordering Nissans at the time, I believe. They're like, hey, you need to buy these right now. You need to buy all of them that you need in the next 2 years right now. I had another person tell me about different products that were going to be delayed. So anyway, that's all to say, SameDay is an incredible partner of BugBucks. I hope it's an ongoing partnership. And what we're trying to do at BugBucks is develop partnerships with people that we trust. So Aaron, this was awesome. Thanks, by the way, thanks for doing that giveaway. You didn't have to do that. You offered to, and I know that will help a lot of people. Guess what? I'm going to be like the first person in line because there's so much about AI that I'm learning, and especially with Claude, and I'm trying to get better at that and have things be more automated with what I'm doing. So thanks so much. You guys, make sure you check out SameDay. Go support them. They're incredible partners of ours. Aaron, you're awesome. We'll keep sending people your way and keep this going. So thanks so much, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much for listening to the BugBucks podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please show your support by subscribing and leaving us an honest 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you, and we'll catch you on the next episode.